All right, a Tuesday edition of Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus. A good Tuesday to one and all. Marc, Malusis, Nelson, Figueroa with you. And Figgie, I think we got to start, first off, good morning. Secondly,
Good morning.
I think we got to start the conversation today with Anthony Volpe conversation after what we saw last night by the Yankees as they lose the opener of a 4-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rays lost to the A's, so there's still a half game up in the American League East. Toronto now within 2 games of the Yankees in the American League East. So with a division that you thought was kind of a fait accompli, that it was over, it was going to be the Yankees and everybody else. Now everyone's back into the conversation, back into the equation, and the Yankees have nobody to blame but themselves as we hit July 1st. Not exactly confidence-inspiring month of June where the Yankees were playing some of their best baseball of the year. But with Volpe here, Figgy, we're starting to see some signs, and I've joked around about the Jeter comparisons, and he's not him physically, and, even at what he is defensively at shortstop, he's not Jeter offensively either. He also doesn't have the baseball IQ. I mean, he made some decisions last night up in Toronto that, like, little leaguers wouldn't make. The decision to throw to third and then throw about 20 feet wide of third to where it's bouncing behind home plate. And then the decision on a ball that was in the, between third and short, right, to make the throw over to first base where he had no chance to get the out. Like that, those are things where it's going to drive. And the Yankees don't have this unbelievable margin for error right now. We got to start talking about Anthony Volpe because he has drawn the ire of many Yankee fans in this tri-state area. Local kid, Jersey kid, we all know the story, drafted first round, developed all these things with Anthony Volpe. I'm not telling you he's not a good guy or his family's not great and all that and everything, but his performance last night or his decision-making last night up in Toronto was like alarming.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who's played 402 major league games, right? Has a gold glove in his holster. It's on the trophy case, like behind him right there would be a gold glove if he did this interview. Surprising, alarming. If you're not hitting, sometimes it leaks into your defense. But when you're a defensive-minded shortstop, that's in all elements of the game. You're the quarterback of the defense. You're the guy that's supposed to make the right decisions, the right calls. Hey, cut it. Throw it through, all those different things. That comes from you and your voice. You're the guy that has, counsel over the whole infield. And then when balls go into the outfield, you're the one that's making the judgment on like relays and stuff like that. So there's a lot on your plate. Understandable. It's not that he's young or inexperienced. He's played enough baseball. He's played enough Major League Baseball that if he had it to do all over again, if you showed him that film of himself last night, he would be like, what the hell is that kid doing? It's alarming. Honestly, you have already, and if you don't know it in your head, like Jeter knew it in his head, most major league shortstops know it in their head. There's a clock to the game. There's a speed to the game. You have an index card as a reminder in your back pocket to take out and be like, oh, the batter, he's a green, meaning he can fly. Okay, if I got to run in or make some kind of athletic superstar play to come get a ball, probably not going to get this guy in a big situation, eat the ball, right? Don't give a guy a chance to advance. Don't give a chance. You're not getting a guy at home there. So the guy did his job. Your job is there to limit the damage, not add to the damage, right? That's what we keep talking about. Guys adding to damage. And you can't have that from your shortstop, especially when he is not doing anything with the bat offensively to help you and make up for the runs that he gives up. There's a plus minus when it comes to players and the runs they give up and the runs that they save. The runs saved, the runs that they give up. Those are the kinds of things where you start looking at it. And when you're a negative like that, we've seen it in a few ball games. But, I mean, the Yankees don't have another option at shortstop as of yet.
No, they don't. I'm not calling for Anthony Volpe to be sent down.
No.
But, like, you look at, like, we've discussed a number of times for lack of a better phrase, like, the stupidity of Yankee baseball at times.
Yeah.
And last night it was like on full display. It really was, whether it be Volpe's decision-making defensively, J.C. Escara with catcher's interference, the Volpe throw from short to first allowed a guy to move over to third base. where he had no shot to get the runner. And then you get it's a 5-3 game, in the top half of the 8th inning, Bellinger hits a home run. They intentionally walk Aaron Judge, and Jazz Chisholm, who has been unbelievably hot in the month of June, decides to bunt. I mean, the Yankees don't bunt in extra innings when it's a tie game on the road to move the guy over to third. Now you're having Judge walked, and Chisholm, who's been unbelievable since coming off the IL, he decides to bunt, gets the bunts down, moves Judge over to second. They walk Stanton, and then you get flyouts by Rice and Volpe to end the inning. Like, that makes little to no sense. Like, you want Jazz Chisholm swinging the bat there. I mean, I don't get it. Like, if it's your number 9 hitter, I understand it. Like, Chisholm homered earlier in the game, a 2-run shot. Like, why exactly would Jazz Chisholm decide then to lay down and sacrifice him to move Judge over to second base in a 5-4 game? Like, you're watching, you're saying to yourself, like, this is like really dumb. Like, this is like really bad baseball.
So if you here's one of the things about it, right? The checkers and chess game. You allow the defense, and you tell the defense, "Hey, play back a little bit. Give this guy the inkling, because you want to play back anyway for a double play on the right side, especially maybe the third baseman is not going to be in. You play back a few steps, and if he gets the bunt down, you come in and crash, and get him at first. You allow him to do what he wants to do there by sacrificing himself in a situation that he shouldn't be sacrificing himself. It just makes no sense, because again, the math is, if Judge is over to second, you then walk Stanton, and now I'm dealing with the bottom 4 in the lineup who had 1 hit all night and opportunities to do anything. They had 11 men left on base. It worked perfectly into Toronto's hands. You could see John Schneider in the dugout being like, did that just happen? Did he really just do that? Like, you just opened up a whole new world for me. All right, Stanton, you're on. I'm going to pitch to the next 2 guys and take my chances with those 2 guys who are barely hitting 200 and, a chance to get out of the inning. Thank you so much. It was interesting to me because, you see Ascara kind of we had wild pitch, we had pass ball, we have catch interference. There was a reason why he was an Uber driver last year. It was a reason why he was playing an independent ball as of last year. Like, it wasn't the Yankees. And I said this before, like, what happens if Austin Wells gets hurt? And what are you doing for catchers? What are you really doing? Because the defensive catcher that you have is Austin Wells. It's those little things add up. And especially when you have teams. Now, we talked about, don't give teams life, don't give teams an opportunity. For the Mets, it's the Braves. The Braves are now hanging around that double-digit mark at the bottom. There's not a double-digit mark behind the Yankees right now. There's 2 teams that are breathing down their necks, and all these little things add up, right? With the Chisholm did an unbelievable job after Aaron Judge had a monumental at-bat against Scherzer. It was a classic at-bat of a power pitcher, even though he's past his prime, but giving it everything he's got, basically to Judge, the sliders, the cutters, the changeups, the fastballs, and Judge battling with him toe-to-toe, and, a pitch that was borderline, but perfect pitch for a pitcher. He gets the call, strike 3, and then he let off the gas for a second and tried to throw him a little spinner, opening breaking ball, and Jazz hits a home run. Like, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that came from the bench of, hey, lay down a bunt here. And
it's just bad. It's just bad baseball all the way around. The Yankees end up losing the game 5-4. I think it's like I think it's on the calendar of the to-do list where you also have to see Marc Leiter Jr. at least 3 games a week. He's had 38 appearances so far this season, and we haven't even hit the All-Star break. We've got like 76 games, 77 games to go in the MLB regular season, something of that nature, maybe a little bit more than that. It's crazy the amount of times they call on Leiter. And Leiter last night, I'm not blaming him. He gets used a lot. He's like, you remember Everyday Eddie Guardado?
Oh, God, yes.
Every single day.
Pedro Feliciano for the Mets was that guy.
It's like, his arm's going to fall off. Paul Quantrill, who got abused by Joe Torre. Tom Gordon, who got abused by Joe Torre. Why do you think there was rules? I love Joe. The Yankees won with Torre, but you get the point. You see Leiter a ton, but it's just bad. You mentioned Wells. He addressed the media afterward, and he's going to hopefully be back in the lineup on Wednesday. They've got an afternoon game this afternoon for the Yankees as they continue their series against Toronto. But Wells is dealing with a circulatory issue. All bad things have been ruled out. There's no blood clot. There's no virus. There's no anything like that. It's just, his I guess, left hand or one of the fingers was getting discolored because of, I guess, catching. I mean, in essence, it was changing color. It was getting cold. He was losing feeling. It was an issue that he had last year. I believe that, over the course of time, that the condition will improve. But all bad things have been ruled out. It's just a circulatory issue in his left hand. But I don't understand, if he's catching every single day, how exactly is that going to improve when you're catching the ball, guys throwing 97, 98 miles an hour? I mean, since it doesn't really affect them, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a major league player. I would imagine if, your hand is, cold and you're having issues with feeling, it's not necessarily like, we're not feeling cold and uncomfortable and turning different colors. I would imagine, Figgy, that's not exactly leads to you playing your best baseball. It's a difficult game.
Yeah, I mean, mentally, right? Is you don't have an idea of what's going on, and anytime you don't have an idea of what's going on, waking up and you're looking at your hand, and it's a different color, and then you go out there and take a pounding in a game, and you're expected to, be your best and feel your best. It's not a fun feeling. As I said, you have Austin Wells as that catcher, and then who do you have as the Yankees?
I mean, the catcher they love, the Gaston Ramirez, is down there in Miami. He was part of the Chisholm trade. He's 23 from the Dominican Republic, and he's, hitting 255 with like 35 RBIs and 12, 13 home runs, and he's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing, right? You got to give to get, and so they needed Chisholm at the time. They didn't need a catcher because they had two catchers. They had Trevino, who was a all-star catcher 2 years prior, the whole Nestor Cortez link, and then you have Austin Wells, the up-and-comer, who they feel like has a potent bat and could do all these things that and no longer wanted to keep him as the backup. They didn't get a veteran catcher, and I couldn't understand. I kept saying that throughout spring training. I kept saying that now, because the one position you can't have a question mark at is catcher. You just can't. You can't just go into it and wonder. And I don't think, listen, Escara is a major league player now, but I don't think there was enough due diligence in knowing exactly what kind of a catcher this guy was. I mean, you went from independent ball to the big leagues. Like, that's a big jump when you're handling a staff like the Yankees. The other thing I got to talk about, though, is when it comes to swings and misses and the new baseball of not caring how many strikeouts you have, right? Toronto Blue Jays last night only struck out 6 times. And how did they do that? They put the ball in play. They forced Volpe to make a lot of plays. They put a lot of plays, ground balls deep and short, which made it difficult throws and kept the line moving. Ground balls with 0-2 counts or 2-strike counts in RBI situations, not trying to swing for the home run. A little bit of old school feel to this team, the way that they do that. And Vladimir Guerrero last night, it wasn't home runs that beat the Yankees. It was the paper cuts of, oh my God, another ground ball, another ground ball, another ground ball. Yeah, but the ground balls were made productive outs. Even when they tied the game, productive outs. All those little things add up. And so when you have a team that goes out there with a philosophy of, hey, put the ball in play, see what happens. I get it. It's turf. It's supposed to be easy, but long throws by the shortstops on the left side, got to pick it at first base, got to stay on the bag. A lot of things have to happen, but you know what happens when you strike out? Absolutely nothing. The line keeps moving. Bellinger hit that home run. Bellinger hit that home run in the top of the 8th, right? He was the first batter of the 8th. He made the last out in the 9th. So that's 9 batters that came to the plate between the 8th and 9th inning, and you scored the 1 run by the solo shot. That to me just screams right there of no approach with 2 strikes, not getting the job done, not having opportunities, and not really capitalizing on.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the swings and misses. I mean, it's just at times you watch it, and last night was a sleepless night if you're a Yankee fan. It was just a bad baseball performance. I mean, other way around. And they wasted what was a good Rodon start. Not going to get on Leiter. He's being asked to cover for a lot in that bullpen. and coming in on a number of different occasions. But defense behind them has got to be better. And some of the baseball decisions, like the Chisholm bump, which we hit upon, and you mentioned, so a lot of the empty at bats. We'll come back.
Yeah.
Talk a little Mets as they get a series going against the Brewers, a little NBA free agency as well. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Tuesday right here on Pix 11 Plus. Welcome back. Marc, Malusis, Nelson, Figueroa with you. It's Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus, a Tuesday edition. And let's talk off days. You think, you're a former major leaguer, Figgie. Team is scuffled when we're looking at the Mets, right? 3-13,
Yep.
I think, in their last 16. You had the statement from Steve Cohen yesterday, obviously, emoting his emotions, connecting with the fan base as well, disappointed, but trying to say, stay positive, stay the course. We're going to be okay. Similar to what David Stearns had to say last week when he met with the media before the Atlanta Braves series out at Citi Field. What does an off day do here for a major league team? Lindor talked about getting away from the ballpark, a little bit of a mental reset. They've been really good at home. What do you need to see the next 3 games before we get Yankees Mets over the holiday weekend?
I need to see a much better brand of baseball, much more of what we saw in April, May. A team that seemed that had that never say die mentality, made comebacks, were able to stay within games, and you were just like, okay, there are a few hits away from really getting an opportunity to come through. But runners in scoring position, like, you can't fix what happened up until July. You've got to be better. You've got to find a way. As I said about the Toronto Blue Jays against the Yankees, they found a way to put the ball in play. Yeah. Just putting the ball in play. There have been runners on third base with less than 2 outs. Put the ball in play. You cannot strike out chasing pitches, trying to be the hero and hitting a 2-run, 3-run home run with only one guy on. It's not going to happen, right? So I would say the strikeout advantage of the pitchers now, with the high spin rates, the high velocities, especially, they're turning these guys over and over and over. So you don't have a feel of, when was the last time I faced this guy and what he has and what did he do to me? That is no longer there. There's a printout for all that stuff now. And I feel like sometimes we get too lost in the swing and miss instead of just small ball, put the ball in play. I got to see a little bit more of that from the Mets. The bottom of the lineup has to show up. I mean, we keep talking about it, and I think it's, for the good teams, you see that depth. You see guys at the bottom of the lineup that surprise you, and then they start becoming regulars. Like, you look at the Dodgers, that Pages kid that came out of nowhere. Every time he's getting an opportunity, you got a guy like Tommy Edman, who was the MVP of the CS. He's at the bottom of the lineup, and you know what he can do. He showed you what he can do with the bat, and he hasn't been himself yet. Those little things like that about the depth of the team. And these are the starters. We're not talking about the bench players. We're talking about the starters, right? You can't have 4 guys in your starting lineup batting 220 or less. I don't think that's a formula for success. Like, it's just not, right? No. Pitchers, we got to have a starter go 5. I'm just starting with 5. Just give me 5. It's hard for me to even say that without laughing, because all I want is my starting pitcher, whose only job is 1 day a week, to go 5. Give me a 5 solid without giving up 5 runs, putting the team behind.
Right. And tonight it's going to be Peralta and Holmes. And there's rain in the forecast tonight, which is not ideal what you want to see. Yep. Especially if you start the game and then there's a long delay and then you continue it, because then you're in that Mets bullpen conceivably, because depending on how long the delay is. So we'll see exactly if Mother Nature cooperates later on tonight for the Mets. The off day, it's interesting. The Mets are not as bad as this. Let's be honest. I mean, getting outscored 30-4 by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Maybe they weren't necessarily as good as when they had the best record in Major League Baseball as well. There's a little bit of the in-between nature, but we can look at the starting rotation. They'll get healthier for sure. You look at the bullpen, you can go out there and maybe you can find some answers to give Reed Garrett and Huascar Brazelban a little bit of rest. But the lineup's been an issue. Surprisingly, I didn't think it would be. It's been an issue all season long. That has been the one kind of constant. Cohen mentioned it in his tweet yesterday, hitting with runners in scoring position. The Mets are the second worst in Major League Baseball. only ahead of the Chicago White Sox. And they are an embarrassment to baseball, along with the Colorado Rockies. So I don't know exactly how that all of a sudden flips the script and that changes. Like you look at Vientos, Figgy, and I think for Vientos, it's becoming harder and harder for him to get back to where he was a year ago, because that looks like more of an aberration than it does look like him as a major league player. It really does, because he doesn't look anywhere close to the hitter that he was a year ago.
Yeah, one of the big things when you come on the scene and you are the 6-7 hole hitter and nobody really knows much about you. I mean, you could look at some of the numbers on what he's done, but what you did was he got a chance to compile numbers against different kinds of pitches, right? The worst fastballs, he bats well over 300. Most of his home runs are on fastballs. We saw him, didn't matter if it was 100 miles an hour. Tremendous power, can hit the ball out to right center field on just a wrist flick. All the things that you love from a guy like that. But his Achilles heel has always been breaking balls. Well, guess what? In year 2, when you show up and you're batting behind Pete Alonso in the 5 hole, you're going to see a metric ton of breaking balls. And how you adjust to that happens to mess up your timing on your fastball hitting, right? So you can't be sitting on fastball and then swing and miss at curveball. You can't be sitting on curveball because then you're late on the fastball. And that's where Marc Vientos is. There's a spot in between where now what you're doing is called guessing. And when you're guessing up at the plate at the major league level, you're being dominated. And your at-bats look like, how long has this guy played baseball?
Yeah.
How did this guy hit 27 home runs last year? What is going on? Like he literally, I've seen him miss, and this has been for over the last week or so, fastballs down the middle. The velocity number on the screen doesn't matter. It's because he's thinking in his head, I'm getting another breaking ball. When you can do that to a hitter, and that was something that kept me in the big leagues, the unpredictability of when I would throw that below average fastball. It made it 3 to 5 miles an hour harder, because if they're sitting on the breaking stuff, they're sitting on the slower stuff, then I have an opportunity to surprise them with the fastball. And if we're going at fastball and fastball count, yes, sit on it, dead red, and he's going to try and hit it to the moon, and that's where they give him a little bit of a cutter. Now, when he's got 2 strikes and he's sitting on breaking ball and they pop that fastball up and in, well, he's got to protect, and so he can't just take it. And you see those half swings, those swings that look really uncomfortable. And just a hitter that's guessing up there is just there's no worse feeling for a hitter. No worse feeling.
All right, quickly here, because I want to we only have a couple minutes left before we have to bid everyone adieu. There's like a shot clock, so we only have a certain amount of time with Figgie and the Moose. But positive or negative, they're home. I think it's a positive.
I think it's a positive.
Their confidence. I think they're going to be inspired by the home crowd. I think what you've seen from the Met fan at home this year, they've leaned more positive than they have negative. I think it's a positive that they're home for this series against the Milwaukee Brewers, and you agree. All right, NBA quickly here. NBA free agency got going 6:00 last night. Reports overnight the Knicks are signing Jordan Clarkson, who got bought out of his contract. He's going to be, offense coming off the bench. The big question is exactly who is coaching this team. Reports a friend of the show, Frank Isola from Sirius XM NBA Radio, ESPN, who's joined us a number of times on Sports Nation Nightly, believes that Mike Brown is the favorite. The former Cavs, Lakers, Kings head coach, to take over for Tom Thibodeau. We talked about it last night, a little bit more of a lateral move, if that, replacing Tibbs. I understand sometimes you got to change the voice. It's not necessarily anything like that, but the voice does start to wear thin, Figgy. But if Mike Brown ends up being the head coach of the New York Knicks, does that fire you up?
See this face?
Yeah. I thought I lost there for
no. You like that? You like that? I froze right there? No. That is my reaction to the Mike Brown signing. Yeah. Like that is not now we got the guy we need. Now we have the next level is right there. There are more question marks than exclamation points to Mike Brown, right? Like there's nothing that makes you go, wow. There's nothing that, like, I thought the progression of Tibbs and where you got to a point where I don't think it was a plateau. What I think it was, hey, we know what we need to do. Let's do it together. And the Knicks said, not so fast. We think we need a new voice, whatever it may be. We think we need, you know what they needed? They needed to freaking play defense. They needed to be better on their feet, a little bit more athletic. Or you had an off season to work on these skills and maybe be a little bit better, not getting off your feet and getting fouls constantly called on you in the playoffs. Like, you can hide those things throughout the regular season because you don't have to give that maximum effort. When you have maximum effort moments and you're in a game 3 down 2-0, and, you're down in the series and you're trying to make a comeback and you feel like, okay, they're going to just keep picking on me like they did to Brunson, like they did to Cat. Okay, make adjustments. They found a way to get them off the floor. Okay, there's a strategy involved in that, right? Tom Thibodeau had that strategy. I know what I need to do. Get them the hell off the floor at the same time. We can't have them on the floor at the same time because they're just going right at them and they're getting fouls. They're trying to get 12 fouls in 12 minutes. And if you let them, they would have. So it was at least an adjustment by Tibbs throughout the series to influx those guys and overlap them so that they weren't on the floor at the same time, to give the Knicks defense a chance, to give the Knicks offense a chance to have a constant scorer out there. So adjustments could have been made. So the adjustments for Tibbs were incremental. Mike Brown now would have to have the mastermind plan that blew your doors off and said, it just makes sense. But that would have been before you fired Tibbs.
Or he's just not Tom Thibodeau, and they hated Thibodeau so much, the decision makers, or specifically Dolan, Worldwide West. I mean, I don't know. It's just
Spike Lee. If you gave me Spike Lee as the head coach, that would have been more exciting.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. Make sure to check us out later on tonight, Sports Nation Nightly at 7 p.m. Remember, Yankees afternoon game today up in Toronto, Mets night game, weather permitting. A little rain in the forecast tonight as they take on the Brewers out there at Citi Field. Thanks for being a part of Figgie and the Moose right here on Pix 11 Plus. We hope everybody out there has a wonderful Tuesday.